Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today I'm going to be talking about some underrated books. Now, these are books that I've read which I feel are really good, but for some reason a lot of people haven't spoken about them. And when I talk about people, I mean Indian booktubers. Like some of these I feel like maybe American booktubers have spoken about, but I just feel that within our community a lot of people haven't spoken about these books, and I thought that I should recommend them to you guys because I found them really good and I think that you guys will enjoy them too. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get started. The first book that I want to talk about is The Unsolved Case of an Indian Woman by Puneet J.H. Now, I did receive this book from the author in exchange for my honest review, and I have to say that I quite liked this book. Now, this book is a psychological thriller and it's told through the perspective of three characters. The first one is Meenu, who is a very young girl who was brought up by her grandmother, who unfortunately passes away. She then has to move back into her mother's and father's house and live with them and her two sisters. However, when she moves back, the only thing she craves for the most is just like love and affection from her mother, who doesn't seem to be giving it to her. The second character is Sneha, who is a teenager. She is around 17 or 18 years old and she lives with her emotionally abusive sister and her husband. She also has quite a tragic story because her sister is very cruel towards her. And the third character is Miss Tundle, who is a highly successful lawyer, and she is basically in a stage in her life where she is getting a lot of death threats, and because of that she has to go for therapy because she is extremely paranoid and scared by these death threats that she is getting. Now, the story basically follows the lives of these three characters, and it might seem a little bit mundane, but I did see that this was a psychological thriller, which means that towards the end of the book there is a huge twist that happens that is quite shocking. Also, the book is written in such a way that you're just kept guessing as to what is happening in the book right till the very last page. So because of that, it was quite gripping and it was a page turner. And it's not a very long book also, it's only 115 pages, but because it's quite gripping and it's written in such a way that you're kept guessing constantly as to what is happening, I feel you finish this book very fast. It's also written in quite simple language, so for beginners, if you're looking for a fast-paced, easy thriller kind of novel, then I highly recommend this. Advanced readers, however, who are used to more complex thrillers might find this one a little bit simplistic, but if you're a beginner and you're looking for a nice thriller, then check this one out. The next book that I want to talk about is Fierce Fairy Tales by Nikita Gill. Now, this book is a collection of poems, and these poems are basically retellings of the classic fairy tales that we all know and love. Now, going into this book, the one thing that you should be aware of is that this is quite a feminist book. All the female characters in this book are very strong, they're very smart, they're not the typical damsels in distress that are usually depicted in fairy tales, because the fairy tales are given a kind of spin in this book. The second thing that I really liked about the way these poems are written is that the lines between heroes and villains are kind of blurred in these fairy tale retellings, and because of that, almost all the characters, even characters who we really know and love and have grown up with, she's depicted them in a very gray manner, like it's not black and white anymore, and that was so interesting to read. And if you really look deep into the poems that are written in this, even though they are written about fantastical characters and like places, there are some real life lessons to be learned. In fact, each poem that is there in this book has a very empowering feel to it. Plus, it is so beautifully written, and because you just feel so empowered after reading the poems in this book, it just makes you feel so happy. And yeah, it is just a really good read, so I highly recommend this book. The next book that I want to talk about is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Now, this is another extremely empowering book. This is the story of how Nike was born, and it's written by one of its co-founders, Phil Knight. In this book, Phil Knight explains it all. He explains all the ups but the many downs that he also faced during the first decade of setting up the company Nike. He's also extremely vulnerable, and he speaks about like the times where he felt that he could lose it all. He also talks about all the people in the company who he worked with that used to drive him mad, like, in the beginning years when he was setting it up, but they later on became like some of the most indispensable people in his company, and how he's so grateful to have them, even though initially they used to drive him crazy. And like I said, because he's so vulnerable in this book, he also talks about the times when he really thought whether what he was doing was really worth it, because it was a struggle for him to set up this company. Like, overall, it was so amazing to really get into the mind of this entrepreneur and really see what it takes to build such a successful company and bring such a successful company to life. If you're an entrepreneur and if you're looking for a really inspiring book about what exactly it takes to set up a company and what exactly it takes to be successful, and also learn some like leadership, managerial skills along the way, then I really, really recommend this book. The next book is the Rivers of London series by Ben Aronovich. Now, this is the second book in the series called Moon Over Soho, but if you want to start reading it, then start with Rivers of London. Now, this book series is a fantasy series that is set in London, but the London is extremely magical with ghosts and monsters and otherworldly creatures. Our main character is Peter Grant, who works at the Metropolitan Police in London, and he wants to be a detective. His fate changes when he gets caught up in like a mystery that's happening all over London, where the key witness happens to be a ghost, and only Peter can talk to that ghost. Now, because of his ability to talk to ghosts and because of his ability to see these otherworldly creatures, Peter gets invited to join this special unit within the Metropolitan Police, or within the police system, that deals with cases which are related to these ghosts and monsters and other creatures. This book is just filled with so much magic, and it's filled with a lot of adventure, and it is filled with like that extremely witty, sarcastic, dry British humor that I really love. So if you like that kind of writing and you like that kind of humor, then I really recommend this book, because it was quite funny and quite interesting to read. And the last book that I want to talk about is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. Now, this is a dystopian fiction book, and our main character in this book is named Todd. He is a young boy who is going to turn into a man at the age of 13. Now, Todd lives in a town called Prentice Town, and this is a place where all the women in the town have died when they got infected by the noise germ. Now, the noise germ, like I said, has killed off all the women, but the men have all survived. But what the noise germ has done to them is that it has given them the ability to read each other's thoughts and basically like read each other's minds. Now, in a town where you can read each other's minds, you tend to think that it will have no secrets, but no. Prentice Town has some really dark secrets, and Todd stumbles upon one of them when he meets a girl who lives like, on the outskirts of Prentice Town, who has not died because of the noise germ. This basically turns his entire life upside down, and it leads to an extremely thrilling, like kind of crazy adventure that Todd and this girl have to go through. This book again was extremely gripping, and it's quite a long book, but you just zip through this book because it is so gripping and it is so thrilling to read, and like you just want to know what happens next. This book is a part of a trilogy. There are 2 other books in this. It is known as the Chaos Walking trilogy. So if you're into dystopian fiction and if you're into like really thrilling, page-turning dystopian books, then I really, really recommend this one. So yeah, that was my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys liked the recommendations that I gave for you. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting me know some of your underrated books. Like, which books do you think deserve more recognition within the booktube community? Let me know down in the comments. And of course, do subscribe to my channel for more book related videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.